Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moten.
And I'm Janae Norman. Here are the top 5 things to know this Monday. Number 1, the controversy over President Trump's phone call with the president of Ukraine.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is giving the Trump administration until Thursday to turn over a whistleblower's complaint about the president's phone call. It comes as she faces more pressure to launch impeachment proceedings.
Trump now acknowledges he talked about Joe Biden during the call, but he denies any wrongdoing. Critics claim he was trying to get a foreign leader to influence an election.
Number 2, the race for the White House. A new poll shows Senator Elizabeth Warren surging in Iowa.
It finds Warren taking the lead over Joe Biden for the first time, with Bernie Sanders in a distant 3rd place. But the poll also shows only 1 in 5 voters in Iowa have made up their minds. On to number 3 now. A Florida woman is speaking out about the arrest of her 6-year-old granddaughter for throwing a tantrum in school.
The girl was one of 2 children under 10 taken into custody at a school in Orlando. The officer, identified as Dennis Turner, has been suspended.
Investigators say the 6-year-old was handcuffed after she kicked a staff member. Her grandmother says the child was visibly shaking when she was picked up from a juvenile center, and she spoke on the phone with our Orlando station.
Kaya was arrested, transported in a police car, fingerprinted when she arrived, mugshots taken. When I got there and they sent it to me, her eyes were red. She was trembling like a leaf.
The other child arrested is just 8 years old. Details on his case aren't available. Orlando police say Officer Dennis was supposed to get approval before arresting a child under 12.
We head to the NFL for number 4. ESPN reports Antonio Brown plans to file a grievance against the Patriots in hopes of securing his $9 million signing bonus.
The team cut him last week after he allegedly threatened a woman, accusing him of sexual misconduct. Brown lashed out at Patriots owner Bob Kraft Sunday, implying a double standard compared to Kraft's arrest at a massage parlor.
Brown tweeted, "Kraft got caught in the parlor, different strokes, different folks." He has since deleted the tweet.
And finally, number 5, television's big night.
We're talking about the primetime Emmys. Game of Thrones won the night with 12 Emmys, and Amazon cleaned up in the comedy series categories with 3 going to Fleabag.
One of the biggest moments came from Billy Porter when he yelled, "The category is love, y'all," after he won Best Actor in a Drama for his role in Pose.
He is the first openly gay black man to win an Emmy for Best Actor.
We've got much more to talk about coming your way.
She's back. It's Morning America. The Emmys were fun this last night, in fact. So no host.
Talking about it on social media.
Yep,
Purple carpet, lots of fashion.
Billy Porter, big moments for Jarrell Jerome as well.
Absolutely.
We'll get to all of that in just a moment, but let's get to that big story. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi putting President Trump on notice after his controversial phone call with the leader of Ukraine came to light.
As the president faces new allegations of enlisting a foreign power to influence an election, Pelosi issued an ultimatum. Meanwhile, Trump is now acknowledging that he did talk about Joe Biden during the call, but he's defending his actions.
ABC's Inez de la Cotara has the new details from Washington. Inez, good morning.
Good morning, Janae and Kenneth. Well, the president has until Thursday to hand over that complaint, and now some are calling for a transcript of that call between the Ukrainian president and President Trump to be released.
Overnight, President Trump still playing defense, tweeting a Wall Street Journal report saying he pressured the Ukrainian president 8 times to investigate Biden is, quote, a Democrat crooked media con. Trump also taking aim at the whistleblower who made a formal complaint about that call, writing he or she doesn't even have a first-hand account of what was said. Trump's pushback coming as he seemed to acknowledge he did discuss Biden during a July phone call with the Ukrainian president.
The conversation I had was largely congratulatory, was largely the fact that we don't want our people, like Vice President Biden and his son, creating to the corruption already in the Ukraine.
Ukraine's foreign minister is now backing up Trump's assertion. So far, the administration has refused to allow the whistleblower's complaint to be released to Congress, even after the Inspector General for the Director of National Intelligence determined the complaint was credible and of urgent concern. Now the administration faces a Thursday deadline to hand over the complaint for congressional review. Otherwise, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi threatening a whole new stage of investigation. Republican Senator Mitt Romney weighing in, saying it's critical for the facts to come out. And some Democrats now suggesting...
If that's the case, then why doesn't the president simply release the transcript of that call?
something the president has not ruled out.
We'll make a determination about how to release it.
And now the acting director of national intelligence will face the House Intelligence Committee on Thursday. He's expected to be asked about why it was that whistleblower's complaint wasn't handed over to Congress as required by law.
And as you know, this is all happening as President Trump heads to the United Nations General Assembly. Today, he is in town, waking up in Trump Tower this morning. So what's on the agenda?
That's right. And this will be the first time that he will meet face-to-face with the Ukrainian president since that story broke. So we'll all be watching closely for that bilateral meeting.
We will, and we know he will not be at the talks today about climate change. We'll be watching closely. Inez, thank you for joining us today. And as tensions continue to mount, Iran is promising to unveil a new regional peace plan at UNGA this week. The Iranian president delivered a speech during a parade showcasing his country's military arsenal. He called on Western powers to leave the region and let Tehran and other Gulf nations handle the security. But Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is defending the decision to send more U.S. troops to Saudi Arabia after that massive attack on its oil facilities.
Apparently, the Iranians are bloodthirsty and looking for war. President Trump and I were looking for a diplomatic resolution to this.
Iran is still denying responsibility for the Saudi oil attack and warned that any retaliatory strike will lead to an all-out war. Well, the community is on edge after a man in Pennsylvania allegedly threatened to attack 2 schools.
Police say 28-year-old Christian Deals threatened to use pipe bombs to carry out a mass shooting at a middle and high school in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. It took 12 hours to find and arrest Deals. He is being held without bail.
An ongoing health alert this morning. The mosquito-borne virus known as EEE is being blamed for at least 7 deaths in the U.S. The most recent fatalities took place in Connecticut and Massachusetts. Experts say Eastern equine encephalitis will continue to be a threat until the weather gets colder. People who are concerned are being told to use insect repellent with DEET until then. The
United Auto Workers is entering its 8th day on the picket line today. A UAW spokesperson says the union and representatives from General Motors are still talking. The 49,000 workers want a larger share of GM profits. GM wants to lower labor costs.
A new theory has emerged about the mystery illness called the Havana syndrome. U.S. and Canadian embassy workers in Cuba's capital began falling ill in 2017, with some suffering brain injuries. Investigators believed high-pitched noises might be to blame. Canadian researchers now say the sickness may have been due to a pesticide used to fight the Zika virus. We officially say goodbye to summer this morning. It happened at 3:50 a.m. Eastern Time, marking the official start of fall.
Here are some facts about the season. Americans refer to this time of year as fall, while the British use the word autumn.
Fall colors are caused by the amount of sugar in leaves. The more red in a leaf, the more sugar that leaf is storing. And this is when birds spend the most time migrating.
It's also the time of the year love is in the air. Experts say it's the season when most relationships begin.
And this year is the only year between like 2016 and 2022 that it falls on the 23rd.
There you go.
Yep. So last night's Emmy Awards ended on a high note with Game of Thrones winning Outstanding Drama Series.
The 71st primetime Emmy Awards were full of upsets, surprises, and even intrigue. Will Gans has the wrap-up.
Hey, good morning to you guys, and good morning to all of you at home. The motto of this year's Emmys, no host, no problem. The show only ran 2 minutes over and still managed to include plenty of upsets, a few awkward moments, and some very emotional speeches.
A night of upsets.
Fleabag.
And jokes about those upsets.
Goes to
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
No, it's fine. Okay, drop it.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge's Fleabag beating out Veep and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who was poised to become the most winning Emmys actor of all time. The 71st Emmy Awards proving to be a night of many firsts.
We witness history unfold. The Emmy goes to Billy Porter.
Billy Porter, now just an Oscar away from EGOT status, the first openly gay black man to win an Emmy for Best Actor.
The category is love, y'all, love!
The Post-star not the only one giving a powerful acceptance speech.
The next time a woman, and especially a woman of color, because she stands to make 52 cents on the dollar compared to her white male counterpart, listen to her, believe her.
Michelle Williams using her time on stage to spotlight the gender pay gap, while Amazon's underdog Fleabag swept many of the comedy categories, including Best Comedy Series.
I forgot to thank my wife when I was up here, and she hasn't been. We've had a very difficult hour.
The award for Best Drama Series went to, what else? Game of Thrones for its final season.
I can't believe we did it. We did it all together, and it's over, and we shall never see her like again.
And while this year's Emmys had no host, there was no shortage of star power at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles. Anthony Anderson and his mom.
Mama, put that in your purse. Oh, okay.
Ben Stiller and a very healthy Bob Newhart.
You thought I was dead.
And Maya Rudolph and Ike Barinholtz, who had a bit of trouble reading the teleprompter.
Abraham Aluminium, Blackish.
Mickey 2 times. The Kaminsky method.
And it's not an award show without a memeable moment.
Our family knows firsthand how truly compelling television comes from real people just being themselves.
Telling their stories, unfiltered and unscripted.
The audience cracking up, the unplanned moment, a little awkward. It almost makes you want to...
And it was a big night of farewells to fan favorites like Game of Thrones, Big Bang Theory, and Veep. But this year's Emmys also made superstars out of first-time winners like Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Gerald Jerome, who gave a powerful speech after his win for When They See Us about the Central Park Five, now known as the Exonerated Five.
That's right, and he thanked them as well as director Ava DuVernay. Yep, you could see Corey Wise starting to shed a tear as this happened. So a big moment there, not only for the actor, but for so many involved in
and the first Afro-Latino person to ever win in this acting category, to be nominated and awarded. So congrats to him and all the other winners. Well, the billionaire paying off the student loans for grads at one of the nation's HBCUs has an extra perk for their parents.
Robert Smith made headlines in May when he promised to wipe out the loan debt for Morehouse College's class of 2019. And now we're getting a look at the fine print. The $34 million grant covers 6 loan types, including those taken out by students' parents. The money will help more than 400 students along with their parents or guardians. An amazing thing he's doing there. Well, coming up, a gender reveal goes viral. Boy or girl? We'll let the hungry hippo tell us.
But first, thousands of travelers stranded overseas as an iconic travel company goes under. We'll go across the pond after this.
Welcome back. We turn now to the murder trial of an ex-cop who shot and killed her neighbor. The former Dallas police officer says she mistakenly entered the man's apartment thinking it was her apartment and that he was a burglar. A jury will now decide whether Amber Geiger committed murder, a lesser offense, or no crime at all.
This morning, the city of Dallas is bracing for a former cop's murder trial.
This is an off-duty officer. I need EMS.
Amber Geiger admits she shot and killed 26-year-old Botham John in his apartment in September of last year. In the 911 call obtained by Dallas station WFAA, the former officer tells the dispatcher 19 times that she thought John was in her apartment.
I thought it was my apartment. Okay, I'm fine.
What's his name? Botham John.
Amid protests, a grand jury indicted Geiger 3 days after the shooting. Critics and John's mother questioned why it took so long for the officer to be arrested.
Give me justice for my son.
According to the arrest warrant, Geiger had just finished a 13-hour shift and says she mistakenly parked on the wrong floor, walked down the wrong hall, and went into the wrong apartment. While still in uniform, court documents show the door was slightly open when Geiger arrived, and she opened fire when John disobeyed her commands. Legal experts say a murder conviction will be difficult because a decision will likely hang on whether the jury believes the shooting was a reasonable mistake. In this video taken 4 days before his death, John is seen leading worship in church where he was a Bible study leader. John's mom was one of the last people to talk to him, and she's now prepared to take the stand.
It's a struggle, but I'm happy that the time is finally here so that we could get some closure.
In addition to murder, the jury could find Geiger guilty of manslaughter or negligent homicide, which also carry long prison sentences. The trial is expected to last 2 weeks.
Now to some breaking news overnight. The British travel company Thomas Cook has collapsed after failing to secure $250 million from shareholders and creditors to avoid going under. And now about 600,000 bookings have been canceled, leaving 150,000 British customers overseas without a way home. So let's go across the pond now to Julia McFarland in the London Bureau for more. Good morning, Julia.
Morning, Kenneth. Morning, Janae. Yes, that's right. Hundreds of thousands of people currently on vacation waking up to the news that the almost 180-year-old travel firm had collapsed. It ceased trading with immediate effects after a round of talks aimed at saving this company. As you say, it's the world's oldest travel firm. Now, this disaster for the company has triggered Project Matterhorn. That is a government-run project to try and repatriate around 150,000 Brits who are currently on holiday abroad with the firm. Earlier this morning, the last Thomas Cook flight landed back in the UK from Orlando. Now, hundreds of thousands of people, around 600,000 people in total, not just Brits, are currently thought to be on holiday on Thomas Cook vacations. And the government has organised a website for people to look up and see the status of their flights. Now, it's got more than 19 million customers last year, according to its website. So this is the collapse of a huge historic legacy firm. The government is now looking to fast track an investigation into why Thomas Cook has run itself into the ground. A lot of people are asking, is this to do with Brexit? Is this indicative of the health of the British economy? Not quite. A lot of travel experts have said that Thomas Cook for a long time has failed to update itself and integrate into modern ways of travel. Of course, a lot of families are no longer sort of dutifully going to travel agents and booking holidays the old-fashioned way. People are taking matters into their own hands, buying flights, sourcing their own hotels and transportation. Thomas Cook has failed to adapt to people's changing habits. Guys?
And a big thanks to Julia there. Now let's get a check of our notifications, starting with the gender reveal with a hippo. Yep, that's a hippo eating watermelon with dye inside. It's blue.
It's a boy. But there's a little controversy this morning because people are saying, why are you giving, food to this hippo with food dye in there? And then the zoo responded, that zoo in Texas, saying
it's all good.
The dye's safe.
Yep.
Hey, next up, a house is up for sale with a catch. It's supposedly haunted. This house in New York is going for $1.9 million, but it is legally haunted in New York because the Supreme Court back in 1991 actually ruled that the home was haunted and said that the owner had to disclose that there are some spooky supernatural things that are happening in there. And so, but the current owner apparently hasn't said that he saw anything or has seen anything because he wants to sell it for $1.9 million.
And this Saturday, the biggest college football matchup for us.
Yeah.
It was Mizzou versus South Carolina. Mizzou won. That's all you need to know.
34-14. My poor
really
Gamecocks. But they'll be back. They'll be back. It was really sad.
Look at that. They're not coming back against anybody.
Well, we can move on now to an update on the beer money request gone viral.
We would tell you about the signed college football fan Carson King held up on ESPN's pregame show this month, jokingly asking for cash to buy a case of beer. Well, people sent beer money and so much more. He says donations are now $1 million. King has promised to donate the cash to a children's hospital in Iowa. Yesterday, he tweeted, "Let's go. We're not done yet." Whole bunch of money.
Yeah. After he appeared on GMA, 2,000 notifications went right to his Venmo.
Yep.
So money's still rolling in. Hey, next up, a reminder, anyone who spends any time in a science lab should wear protective gear.
Everybody, even this service dog with a student at Clemson University. Got the goggles, got the lab coat, good to go.
And sandals to protect bare paws.
Good thinking.
Check. Hey, and we're getting a glimpse of Blue Ivy's birthday.
So it happened back in January, but Queen Bee has been busy, and she's finally gotten around to sharing dozens and dozens of photos on her website.
As you can see, Blue Ivy's 7th birthday party had a rose gold theme with her friends all wearing matching pink robes.
And Beyonce's so excited there. Now to that marriage proposal that turned tragic. A Louisiana man has died after asking his girlfriend to marry him while he was underwater.
His fiancée is now sharing video of the proposal and the moment it went horribly wrong. This morning, the chance for a lifelong memory turning tragic. Stephen Weber and his girlfriend Kanisha Antoine were on vacation off the coast of East Africa, staying at this resort that features an underwater room.
All right, here we are in the underwater room.
Video shared by Antoine, who was inside at the time, shows Weber outside one of the room's windows, 30 feet underwater, holding a handwritten sign that read, I can't hold my breath long enough to tell you everything I love about you. Will you please be my wife? That's when something went wrong. Weber swims away and he never resurfaces, presumably drowning. Antoine writing in an emotional Facebook post, "You never emerged from those depths, so you never got to hear my answer. Yes, yes, a million times yes, I will marry you."
Super bright, intelligent, loving, wise.
Friends and family say Weber was a selfless, giving person.
That smile never stops. But he's the kind of guy that when he walks into a room, he's glowing, and it's like the ripple effect. It makes you feel very happy to be around him.
The resort calls Weber's death a tragic accident, saying authorities in Tanzania are now investigating. The State Department confirmed a U.S. tourist died in Tanzania, but gave no further details.
Well, coming up, we'll tell you what's to come on this Monday.
Plus, a social media challenge fit for the red carpet. Stay tuned for our question of the day.
Here's what to watch out for today. The United Nations General Assembly kicks off, and President Trump is in New York to lead an event on religious freedom before meeting with several world leaders, including the president of Pakistan, the president of Poland, the prime minister of New Zealand, and the presidents of Singapore, Egypt, and South Korea.
Meanwhile, climate change activists are expected to block key buildings and roads in Washington, D.C. to disrupt business as usual and demand action by politicians on tackling climate change.
And Prince Harry, Duchess Meghan Markle are taking their new son, baby Archie, on their first official tour as a family to South Africa.
Plus, don't forget to tune into the debrief for an update on all our top stories in the briefing room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics.
Finally, on the red carpet, a writer for the show Barry wanted social media to dress her. Emily Heller wore a green suit so people could Photoshop whatever outfit they want on her.
So for our question of the day, what should she wear? Send us your ideas or Photoshops on Twitter at ABC News Live. Maybe we'll even show some of them. She's a brave woman for this because people get kind of crazy on there with the green screens and whatnot. So be nice.
All right, go get your booties and your scarves and your pumpkin spice. It's
It's
first day of
fall, everybody.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Autumn.